Most bad habits are not created because you are lazy, weak, or lacking discipline. That is one of the biggest misunderstandings people have about self control. In reality, your brain is designed to save energy. It does this by turning repeated actions into automatic patterns. The more often you repeat a behavior, the less conscious effort your brain wants to spend on it. At first, you may choose to check your phone, delay your work, eat when you are stressed, or scroll social media when you feel bored. But after enough repetition, your brain begins to treat that behavior as the easiest and most familiar response. This is why bad habits can feel so difficult to stop. Many of them are no longer fully conscious decisions. They have become automatic reactions. You open your phone before you even realize it. You procrastinate even though you know the deadline is close. You reach for snacks even when you are not truly hungry. This does not mean you are broken. It means your brain has learned a pattern and is repeating it because that pattern feels efficient, familiar, and easy. To change a bad habit, you first need to stop blaming yourself and start understanding the system your brain has created. The reason this happens is because your brain changes through repetition. Every time you repeat a behavior, your brain strengthens the neural pathway connected to that action. This process is called neuroplasticity. In simple terms, your brain becomes better at whatever you do repeatedly. If you repeatedly focus, focus becomes easier. If you repeatedly procrastinate, procrastination becomes easier. If you repeatedly check your phone when you feel stressed, your brain starts connecting stress with phone checking. Over time, the behavior becomes faster, stronger, and more automatic. At first, a habit may require conscious choice. You think about doing it, then you decide to do it. But after enough repetition, your brain starts moving that behavior into deeper automatic systems, especially the basal ganglia, which plays an important role in habits and repeated routines. That is why many bad habits happen before you even have time to think. You open your phone again and ask yourself, why did I do that? You delay your work even though the deadline is close. You eat even though you are not truly hungry. The answer is not that you are careless. The answer is that your brain has practiced that pattern so many times that it now runs almost automatically. Another reason bad habits become so powerful is that your brain naturally prioritizes fast rewards. Your brain does not always ask whether a behavior is good or bad for your future. It mostly asks one simple question: does this make me feel better right now? If the answer is yes, the brain remembers it. This is why many bad habits become addictive so quickly. Scrolling your phone gives you a quick hit of dopamine. Eating something sweet gives you temporary comfort. Procrastinating gives you short-term relief from pressure. Social media fills the empty feeling of boredom, loneliness, or stress for a few moments. Even if these behaviors create problems later, the brain pays more attention to the immediate reward. The problem is that your brain stores these rewards as a pattern. If stress leads to scrolling and scrolling gives relief, your brain begins to connect stress with your phone. If boredom leads to eating and eating gives comfort, your brain begins to connect boredom with food. If pressure leads to procrastination and procrastination gives temporary escape, your brain starts using avoidance as a coping mechanism. Over time, when the same emotion or situation appears again, the brain automatically activates the old behavior because it remembers the reward. This is why bad habits are not only about the action itself. They are about the emotional reward your brain expects to receive from that action. To understand why bad habits repeat, you need to understand the habit loop. Every habit follows a simple pattern: trigger, behavior, reward. The trigger is the thing that activates the habit. The behavior is the action you perform. The reward is the feeling or benefit your brain receives afterward. For example, stress can be the trigger, scrolling your phone can be the behavior, and the feeling of escaping pressure can be the reward. Boredom can be the trigger, eating snacks can be the behavior, and temporary comfort can be the reward. Loneliness can be the trigger, opening social media can be the behavior, and feeling connected for a few moments can be the reward. This is why many people fail when they only try to stop the behavior. They say, I need to stop scrolling, I need to stop procrastinating, or I need to stop eating when I am stressed. But the behavior is only the middle part of the loop. If you do not understand what triggers the behavior and what reward your brain is trying to get, the habit will keep coming back. So instead of only asking, how do I stop this bad habit? A better question is, What is activating this habit in the first place? Because once you identify the trigger, you are no longer fighting only the action. You are starting to understand the entire system behind the action. The first step to changing any bad habit is not to fight the habit immediately, but to observe what triggers it. For 1 week, pay attention to the moments before the habit happens. Ask yourself, what time does it usually happen? Where am I? What emotion am I feeling? Am I stressed, bored, lonely, tired, or overwhelmed? Who am I with? What thought appeared in my mind right before I did it? This simple observation is powerful because most bad habits do not appear randomly. They are usually activated by a specific emotional state, environment, time, or mental pattern. When you begin to notice these patterns, the habit becomes less mysterious and less automatic. Many people are not truly addicted to the behavior itself. They are addicted to the emotional relief that the behavior gives them. You may not be addicted to your phone. You may be addicted to the feeling of escaping stress. You may not be addicted to junk food. You may be addicted to the comfort it gives when you feel tired or emotionally empty. You may not be addicted to procrastination. You may be addicted to the temporary relief of avoiding pressure. Once you identify the trigger, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for awareness, planning, and decision-making, becomes active again. Instead of being controlled by an unconscious pattern, you create a small pause. And inside that pause, real change begins. The second step is to make the bad habit harder to perform. This works because your brain usually follows the easiest path. If a bad habit is easy, visible, and instantly available, you will have to fight it with willpower again and again. And willpower becomes weaker when you are tired, stressed, bored, or emotionally overwhelmed. That is why changing your environment is often more powerful than trying to force yourself to be disciplined. If your phone is beside you while you work, your brain will naturally want to check it. If junk food is in your room, your brain will naturally want to eat it. If social media is one tap away, your brain will naturally choose it when it wants quick relief. So, instead of depending only on self-control, create friction between you and the bad habit. Delete the apps that waste your time. Log out of social media after using it. Keep your phone in another room while working. Do not keep addictive food inside your house. Put physical distance between yourself and the things that trigger your cravings. This may sound simple, but even a few seconds of inconvenience can interrupt an automatic habit. That small delay gives your conscious brain time to wake up and ask, do I really want to do this? And sometimes, that tiny pause is enough to stop the old pattern from taking control. The third step is to replace the bad habit instead of only trying to remove it. This is important because your brain does not like empty space. A habit usually exists because it gives you something: comfort, stimulation, escape, relief, or a sense of reward. So, if you simply remove the behavior without giving your brain another option, your brain will keep searching for the old habit. This is why many people relapse. They try to stop scrolling, stop overeating, or stop procrastinating, but they do not replace the emotional reward that those behaviors used to provide. The brain still wants relief, so it naturally returns to the behavior it already knows. A better approach is to give your brain a new response that still provides some kind of reward, but in a healthier and less destructive way. If stress makes you want to scroll your phone, replace it with a short walk, deep breathing, or stretching for 2 minutes. If boredom makes you want to eat snacks, replace it with movement, drinking water, or talking to someone. If feeling overwhelmed makes you procrastinate, replace avoidance with one small task that feels manageable. The goal is not to create a perfect habit immediately. The goal is to teach your brain a new pattern. Over time, every time you choose the replacement behavior, the new neural pathway becomes stronger and the old habit becomes weaker. The fourth step is to stop depending only on motivation and start using identity. Motivation can help you begin, but it is not stable enough to carry long-term change. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions change every day. Some days you feel inspired, focused, and ready to improve your life. Other days you feel tired, stressed, distracted, or discouraged. If your behavior depends only on feeling motivated, then your new habits will collapse the moment your emotions change. This is why so many people start strong for a few days, then return to the same old patterns when life becomes difficult. A stronger approach is to change the way you see yourself. Instead of saying, I am trying to stop procrastinating, say, I am becoming someone who acts immediately. Instead of saying, I am trying to live healthier, say, I am someone who takes care of my brain and body. This may sound simple, but your internal language matters. The words you repeat to yourself shape the way your brain understands who you are. When you repeat a new identity often enough, your brain begins to treat that identity as familiar, and when that new identity becomes familiar, the behaviors connected to it start to feel more natural. Real habit change is not only about what you do, it is also about who you believe you are becoming. The fifth step is to reward your progress immediately. One reason bad habits are so powerful is that they give fast rewards. Scrolling feels good right away, junk food gives comfort right away, avoiding a difficult task gives relief right away. But good habits usually have delayed rewards. Exercise takes time before you see changes in your body. Reading takes time before you notice growth in your thinking. Learning a skill takes time before you feel confident. Because the brain naturally prefers immediate rewards, good habits can feel less attractive at the beginning, even when you know they are better for your future. That is why you need to make progress feel rewarding now, not only later. Track your streaks. Mark each day you complete the habit. Celebrate small wins. Tell yourself, I focused for 20 minutes, and that matters. Notice how you feel after doing the right thing, even if the result is still small. Your brain needs evidence that the new behavior is beneficial. If you wait until you see a huge transformation before you feel proud, you may quit too early. But when you reward the process, your brain starts connecting the new habit with a positive feeling, and over time, that positive feeling helps the new behavior become easier to repeat. There is another reason changing habits feels uncomfortable. Your brain prefers familiarity more than improvement. Even when a habit is unhealthy, it can still feel safe to the brain because it is known. The old pattern may be damaging your focus, your health, or your confidence, but your brain recognizes it. It knows what to expect. It knows the reward. It knows the routine. That is why people often return to behaviors they do not even like anymore. They are not returning because the habit is truly good for them. They are returning because the habit feels familiar, predictable, and emotionally safe. When you try to change, your brain suddenly faces uncertainty. A new routine feels strange. A healthier response feels unfamiliar. Saying no to an old habit can feel uncomfortable, even when you know it is the right decision. But that discomfort does not mean you are failing. In many cases, it means your brain is adapting to a new system. The old neural pathway is no longer being used in the same way, and the new one is not fully strong yet. This middle stage can feel awkward, boring, or emotionally difficult, but it is also the stage where real rewiring begins. So when change feels uncomfortable, do not immediately assume something is wrong. Sometimes discomfort is simply the feeling of your brain learning a new way to live. Another important thing to understand is that the goal is not perfection. Many people fail to change because they believe one mistake means they have destroyed all their progress. They eat one unhealthy meal and think the whole diet is ruined. They miss one workout and think they are back to zero. They waste one evening scrolling and tell themselves, I always fail, but the brain does not work that way. One mistake does not erase a new neural pathway. One bad day does not destroy all the repetition you have already built. What matters most is not whether you are perfect, but whether you return to the new pattern quickly. The real danger is not making one mistake. The real danger is allowing one mistake to become your old identity again. If you miss one day and then say, this is who I have no discipline, you are training your brain to return to the old loop. But if you make a mistake and say, that was one moment, not my identity, you protect the new pattern you are building. Successful people are not people who never fail. They are people who recover faster. They do not let guilt keep them trapped in the old cycle. They understand that progress is built by returning, repeating, and continuing, even after imperfect days. In the end, breaking bad habits is not about becoming a perfect person overnight. It is not about never making mistakes, never feeling cravings, or never struggling again. Real change is much more practical than that. It is about slowly reducing the automatic destructive behaviors that control your life and gradually increasing the conscious behaviors that support the person you want to become. Every time you notice a trigger create friction, choose a replacement behavior, reinforce a new identity, or reward a small win, you are teaching your brain a new pattern. Change does not happen because you force yourself once. It happens because you repeat a better pattern enough times for your brain to start believing it is normal. Your brain changes through repetition, reward, environment, and consistency. The habits that control your life today were not born with you. They were learned through repeated actions, emotional rewards, and familiar situations. And because they were learned, they can also be unlearned. You do not need to rebuild your whole life in one day. You only need to interrupt one old loop, choose one better response, and repeat it again tomorrow. Over time, those small conscious choices become stronger. The old patterns become weaker. And little by little, you stop being controlled by habits that hurt you and start becoming the person who controls the direction of your own life.